There is a buried secret beneath your feet that a trillion-dollar industry spends millions every year to ensure you never discover. In the mid-40s, while the world was spiraling toward global conflict and the birth of industrial chemical dependency, a silent group of researchers observed something impossible in the high-yield floodplains of the ancient world. They found communities that used zero synthetic fertilizers, zero mechanical water pumps, and yet harvested 10 times more calories per square meter than any modern farm today. They called it the biological sponge. This is not a video about gardening. Forget everything you've learned from weekend hobbyist tutorials. What you are looking at is independence engineering, a logical system based on thermodynamic laws and deep soil biology that allows you to transform a 20-square-meter backyard into a source of infinite yield and unbreakable food security. If you implement the 3 layers I'm teaching you today, you will never be a hostage to grocery store inflation again. You will possess what we call unbreakable abundance. But why haven't you heard of this? The answer is simple. The modern system is designed for fragility. Industrial agriculture is built on a model of chemical addiction. They kill the soil biology with heavy tilling and then sell you the cure in the form of synthetic NPK. It is medical life support for the earth. If the oil supply drops, if logistics freeze, or if the water bill spikes, the system collapses. And you pay the price with an empty plate and a drained bank account. They convinced you that growing food is hard, expensive, and high-tech. They want you to believe soil is just dead dirt meant to hold a plant while they inject it with chemicals. That is a technical lie. Nature doesn't need invoices, it needs a flow system. We are going to replicate the intelligence of a tropical rainforest, the most productive ecosystem on the planet, inside a controlled, high-performance raised bed. To achieve infinite yield, we must master the physics of capillarity. In standard farming, you pour water from the top. The sun evaporates 70% of it before it hits the roots. The rest runs off, leaching the few nutrients left. It is a financial and resource disaster. In the Unbreakable abundance system, we invert gravity. We build a sub-irrigated biological reservoir. Think of it like a battery. A battery stores electrons for future use. Our biological sponge stores water and micronutrients in a latent state. Through soil porosity and surface tension, water rises from the bottom to the roots exactly when the plant demands it. This creates an environment where the plant never experiences hydraulic stress. When a plant isn't stressed, it doesn't waste energy on survival. It spends 100% of its energy on production. That is why the fruit from this system looks unreal. It is the result of absolute biological comfort. The foundation of this system is the void space. We create an impermeable base at a depth of 40 to 50 centimeters. But here is the secret the manuals ignore. The material filling this reservoir determines your financial longevity. We don't use gravel. We use high surface area aggregates that act as a microscopic highway for beneficial fungi. This is layer 1, the reservoir. It is the heart of your sovereignty. Once the reservoir is set, we move to the engine room, the carbon matrix. In the industrial world, carbon is seen as waste. In the abundance method, carbon is our primary currency. We utilize a technique known as the Hugel carbon strategy, but modified for high-density urban environments. We are layering dense biomass, thick hardwood logs, and carbon-rich organic matter directly above the water reservoir. This creates a biological battery that performs 3 critical functions. First, it acts as a long-term nutrient bank. As this wood slowly breaks down over a decade, it releases a steady stream of minerals. You aren't just planting for this season. You are building an asset that appreciates in value every year. Second, this decomposition process generates internal heat. By harnessing the thermal energy of composting wood, you can keep the soil temperature 5 to 10 degrees higher than the outside air. This allows you to extend your growing season into the dead of winter, giving you a competitive advantage over the climate. Third, and most importantly, this layer acts as the actual sponge. It wicks the water from layer 1 and holds it in a state of bioavailability. This is where we move from gardening to intelligence finance. In a standard system, you are constantly buying inputs. In the carbon matrix, your input is free waste from your local environment. You are converting zero-value trash into high-value caloric output. The efficiency of this transition is what separates a dependent consumer from an independent producer. We aren't just growing tomatoes. We are mining the air for carbon and turning it into gold. To stabilize this matrix, we introduce Layer 3, the living soil and the succession planting protocol. Most people plant a crop, harvest it, and leave the dirt bare. This is a massive loss of potential yield. In our system, we use the vertical stack method. While your heavy feeders like tomatoes and peppers are reaching for the sun, a carpet of nutrient-dense greens is covering the floor. This creates a microclimate that prevents any moisture from escaping. We call this a biological shield. By the time you harvest your primary crop, the secondary crop is already 50% through its life cycle. You are effectively doubling your square footage without moving a single fence post. This is the math of abundance. When you stop fighting nature and start engineering with it, the results look like magic to the uninitiated. But for us, it's just physics. It's about managing the flow of energy and water with maximum efficiency. You are creating a closed-loop economy where the only dividend is the most nutrient-dense food on the planet. This isn't just about survival. It's about thriving in a system that wants you to be a customer for life. Before we go deeper into the mechanical assembly of Layer 2, we need to address a critical bottleneck. The industrial system relies on your lack of information to keep you dependent. They want you to watch, but never to act. If you are seeing the logic in this engineering, if you realize that abundance is a choice, not a luxury, then you need to lock in your access to this data. Subscribe to this channel right now. We are building a decentralized network of independent producers, and by hitting that sub button, you are officially exiting the consumer loop and entering the production phase. Also, hit the like button immediately. Every like tells the algorithm that this technical sovereignty is more important than the distraction-filled content usually pushed to the masses. It helps this 1,000-year-old blueprint reach the hands of those who truly need it to survive the coming shifts. Finally, I want you to drop a comment with the word system if you are committed to building your first biological sponge this year. It signals to the community that you are moving from theory to implementation. Now, let's get back to the physics of the carbon matrix and why your current soil is actually robbing you of wealth. Now we transition from theory to the physical build. To achieve 1,000-year-old results, your construction must be flawless. We begin with the excavation, or the frame. If you are building a raised system, your frame must be reinforced to handle the immense weight of a fully saturated biological sponge. A standard garden bed is light. An abundant system is a heavy-duty biological machine. The first step in the how-to is the liner. We use a food-grade, heavy-duty HDPE liner to create a completely sealed basin. This is not for drainage. This is for containment. You are creating an artificial aquifer. Once the liner is secured, you must install the overflow valve. This is the most critical piece of engineering in the system. You drill a hole exactly at the transition point between the water reservoir and the soil layer. This valve ensures that while the bottom stays saturated, the top never becomes waterlogged. It maintains the perfect oxygen-to-water ratio that prevents root rot, a problem that plagues 90% of traditional gardens. Inside this basin, we lay the skeleton. We use perforated pipes or high-density recycled crates wrapped in a geotextile fabric. Why? Because we need void space. If you fill the reservoir only with soil, you lose the water-holding capacity. By creating a hollow skeleton at the base, you create a massive tank of water that can sustain your plants for weeks or even months without a single drop of rain. This is the lazy garden promise. You are building a system that waters itself forever. The bridge is where most people fail. You cannot simply put dirt on top of water and expect it to work. You need a wicking column. We pack these columns, the vertical connections between the reservoir and the soil, with a specific mix of organic matter and mineral fines. This acts like the wick in a candle, drawing water upward through capillary action against the force of gravity. Once the bridge is established, we lay the separation fabric. This is a permeable layer that prevents the fine soil from clogging your water reservoir. It ensures the lungs of the system remain clear. Above this fabric, we begin the hugel carbon layer we discussed. You lay down the hardwood. You pack the gaps with biochar and aged manure. You are not just building a garden, you are building a digester. As you add the final layer of living soil, a mix of high-quality compost, worm castings, and mineral dust, you are completing the circuit. The physics are now locked in. The water stays at the bottom, protected from the sun. The carbon in the middle stays moist, feeding the fungi. The soil on top remains aerated and rich. This is the systemic advantage. You have created a vertical gradient of life that mimics the floor of an ancient forest, but optimized for maximum caloric output. To turn this into a 6-digit backyard, you must master the planting protocol. We do not plant in rows. Rows are an industrial invention for tractors, not for humans. We use bio-intensive triangulation. By spacing plants in a hexagonal pattern, you increase your plant density by 30% without increasing the footprint. But the real secret to unbreakable abundance is the understory strategy. While your heavy yielders like heirloom tomatoes are climbing a vertical trellis, you are growing high-value medicinal herbs and dense greens in their shadow. This creates a living mulch. This foliage prevents the soil surface from heating up, which in turn keeps the biological sponge below at the perfect temperature for microbial activity. In this system, there is no off-season. Because the reservoir acts as a thermal mass, holding the heat of the day and releasing it at night, you can push your production cycles further than anyone in your neighborhood. You are effectively cheating the local climate. When the grocery stores are hiking prices due to a bad harvest elsewhere, your system is still churning out high-density nutrition. This is the financial conversion. You are no longer a consumer, you are a producer with an unbreakable supply chain. Now we must talk about the 6-figure backyard reality. When we speak of infinite income, we aren't just using a marketing term. We are talking about the displacement of cost. In a standard household, food is the second or third largest expense. By implementing the abundance method, you are essentially giving yourself a tax-free raise. Every dollar you don't spend at the grocery store is a dollar of net profit. But the math goes deeper. In a high-performance system like the biological sponge, your nutrient density is 3 to 4 times higher than industrial produce. This means you need to eat less to get more. You are lowering your long-term healthcare costs while increasing your caloric security. This is the ultimate hedge against inflation. While the price of fertilizer, transportation, and water continues to climb globally, your input cost in this system drops to near zero after the second year. The carbon matrix settles, the fungal networks mature, and the system begins to feed itself. This is the definition of an unbreakable asset. If you scale this system to a mere quarter acre, you move from self-sufficiency into the realm of local commerce. High-density, bio-intensive produce grown in a living soil system commands a premium price. You are producing a product that cannot be replicated by a machine. You are selling health, flavor, and resilience. This is how you build a decentralized income stream that is decoupled from the fluctuations of the stock market or the stability of the power grid. The beauty of the 1,000-year secret is its durability. Unlike plastic hydroponic systems that break or computerized greenhouse sensors that fail, the biological sponge relies on the most reliable technology in the universe: biology. Maintenance is minimal. You aren't working the garden, you are managing a biological machine. Once a year, you top off the system with high-carbon mulch. This keeps the engine running. Every 3 to 5 years, you might add mineral dust to replenish the trace elements harvested by your heavy yielders. Beyond that, the system is autonomous. It mimics the self-sustaining cycles of a climax forest floor. It harvests its own water, it generates its own heat, and it builds its own fertility. This is the end of the line for the industrial dependency era. By building this system, you are reclaiming a piece of human history that was stolen from you. You are choosing to exit the fragile, high-cost loop of modern consumption and enter a state of permanent production. This isn't just about tomatoes. It's about the psychological freedom that comes with knowing that no matter what happens to the global economy, your family's table will always be full. The transition from a consumer to a producer starts with a single shovel of earth. Do not wait for a better time or for land prices to drop. The abundance method is designed for the small, the urban, and the marginalized. It works in a 5-gallon bucket as well as it works on a massive estate. The physics of capillarity and the logic of carbon don't care about the size of your bank account. Build layer 1, establish your reservoir, lock in your carbon matrix. Once you see the first harvest, produced so vibrant it looks like it was painted, you will realize that the scarcity you were sold was a fabrication. Abundance is the natural state of the earth when it is managed with intelligence rather than greed. Stop being a spectator in your own survival. Take the blueprint, apply the layers, and build your fortress of abundance. The 1,000-year-old secret is now in your hands. Use it to become unbreakable. The industrial system thrives on your isolation. It needs you to believe that you are the only one seeking a way out. But the truth is, a global network of independence engineers is already reclaiming the soil. Building this 1,000-year-old system is the first step, but staying connected to the data and the new biological breakthroughs is how you remain ahead of the curve. If you are ready to stop being a victim of the global supply chain and start building a fortress of unbreakable abundance, you need to be part of this movement. Subscribe to this channel right now. We are dismantling the myths of scarcity one layer at a time, and you cannot afford to miss the technical deep dives coming next. Hit the like button if you believe that food sovereignty is a fundamental human right, not a corporate privilege. By liking this video, you help the algorithm bypass the gatekeepers and reach more people who are tired of being dependent. Finally, I want to hear from you in the comments below. Tell me, what is the biggest obstacle stopping you from starting your biological sponge today? Is it space, local regulations, or lack of materials? Comment below, and let's engineer a solution together. The era of the helpless consumer is over. The era of the independent producer has begun. Build your system. Secure your future. I'll see you in the next breakdown.